Hello, and welcome to the Brandon and Carlos Show. I am Brandon, and this is my co-host, Carlos.
What's up, everybody?
We hope that you're doing well. I know these have been some very trying and difficult times for us this last few weeks. We can only go out to certain places, but I must say, being home with my family is pretty cool.
Man, at least you get the chance to be home. I'm out working, but I'm grateful to be working. So
I started a garden, and we work in it every day.
okay.
Well, almost every day. We have been making homemade teas with herbs from our garden and all that good stuff. Also, eating at home is much better for you. I mean, at least we know that we're eating clean food. Um, you never know what you're getting
When you at a
eating
restaurant.
out like that.
Yeah.
Well, enough about eating. Today we have with us a very special guest.
Yeah.
Today's guest is a worship minister, vocalist, songwriter, Jason Clayborn.
Yes, sir.
He may be achieving a new level of notoriety in the industry due to his composition of 2016's massive Hezekiah Walker hit Better. But those in the know have been appreciating his heart and talent for many years. Having grown up in church, Clayborn began his professional music career in the Dove and Stellar Award nominated Christian hip hop group, the Righteous Riders. He quickly migrated toward local and regional church ministry as a solo artist, a worship pastor, a vocal arranger, and a songwriter. He has released 3 independent projects: Rhythm and Praise Volume 1, Music, Word, Theology, and The Heart of the People, and has traveled extensively with Pastor Ron Canoli and Bishop Hezekiah Walker. His group, Jay and the Team, regularly ministers at churches around the world. A prolific songwriter, Jason has cut some songs for Vincent Mitchell, Dexter Walker, and Zion Movement, the Soul Sisters of St. Stephen, and most recently, Wes Morgan and Ricky Dillard. In addition to his weekly ministerial duties at his home church in Louisville, Kentucky, Jason has been making time to travel to Nashville for songwriting appointments with some of the best writers in gospel, CCM, and contemporary worship, and contemporary R&B music. God has opened some amazing doors over the last year, he says. I'm committed to doing everything I can to bless the church, to serve other artists, and to bring outsiders into the community of faith through music. Jason Clayborn is published by E1 Publishing in Nashville and is available for co-writing by appointment. Contact, and then there's some contact information. But we are happy to have Jason Clayborn.
What's up? What's up? I'm no longer with E1, so
You're no longer with E1. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
no. It's all good, man. Yeah, that's no. And for
It's
that
Ty
time, that
Scott,
was
right?
Ty Scott, man. We were Ty
Oh,
Scott
man,
Records, man.
You done with the family.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
So
man.
went back, man. I was with them 15 years ago. With the Righteous Riders,
Right.
and then you know, writing and getting these songs placed on albums and stuff, man. They was like, man, what you working on? So,
Okay.
long story short, about 8-9 months ago, man, I re-signed with them.
Okay. Okay. That's what's
Yeah.
up. I'm from Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
right there, and that's where I got my first professional gig playing with Bishop Leonard Scott,
Oh
drummer.
yeah, I love Bishop.
And I don't know if you remember the Jesus Gang back in the day. You remember
Yeah.
the youth
Yeah.
choir? Yeah. I was
Yeah.
with
They
them, man.
was
So
dope.
yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
So that's what's up. So that's what's up. That's a recent change, man. Anything else been going on with you, man? That's
Um. I mean, it's been interesting. My whole journey. He kind of really spoke a lot about my journey, but you know, um, you think God will take you in another way, you know what I mean? And then he ends up flipping it around and taking you in a whole different way.
Yeah.
But um the success behind my writing it was a kind of a setup. It was a setup by God. And I think for all people, you need to appreciate the walk and the will that he has for your life,
Right.
and appreciate that. And not, I mean, yeah, you can glean from other people and look to other people, but the specific will and plan that he has for your life, I think that is, you appreciate that way. You enjoy the walk a lot better, and for me, it's just been cool, man. As my writing took off, and so now that I'm a signed artist again, I'm actually not just with Ty Scott, but I'm on my own label.
Okay.
So, it's J Clay Music / Ty Scott, which is an incredible accomplishment for a new artist,
Yeah.
Yeah.
basically a new
Yeah.
artist coming into the game, but a new artist with the business mindset of not having to run for no stellars, or try to be nominated for any awards, because I've been nominated for every award already. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
Yeah, man.
I just want to, Grammy, Dove, Billboard, Soul Train, all of that. I just wanted to continue to put out music that people can sing at their churches on a regular basis.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about let's talk about let's talk about the beginning with the Righteous Writers.
Yeah.
Just a quick little second, man, because that
Well,
y'all
man,
were dope.
man, listen, we were before our time, really. This was that, early 2001, 2002. The gospel industry was still trying to figure out where to place gospel hip hop.
Yeah.
So outside of the gospel gangsters and cross movement, we were like the next movement of really going mainstream when it comes to our sound. So many times I wonder how I'm gonna pay my next bill. So many times we had videos and everything. We was doing stuff and pushing the envelope on a
Yeah.
lot of stuff before Cats was really, mainstream gospel hip hop. Bobby Jones, we was doing that. We was doing TBN stuff. I mean, so it was really cool being 21, 22, 23, traveling and, on the road and going overseas and being on concerts with Tone. And I mean, it was bananas. It was almost kind of surreal because I'm like, am I doing this? But I didn't rap. That was the cool thing about it. I was not a rapper at all. I mean,
Right.
I still can't rap to this day, but I had a pen and I was writing all the hooks for the
Right.
record. You know what I mean? So I was cutting the hooks, singing them, and they was like, "Man, we keeping them." And man, it was a pivotal point in my life where it's funny because a lot of the artists that I connect back with now, when I tell them, that I used to be in that group, they was like, "Oh my God, man, we remember you from that." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I had braids and, the whole nine. It was the
Yeah.
jersey era where we had on jerseys and,
Throwbacks. Yes,
and
sir.
throwbacks, you know what I'm saying? So, but, even before that, a shout out, I always want to pay homage to my grandmother, Wilma Clayborn, and my mom, Jocelyn
Yes.
Clayborn, and the Church of God Sanctified, who brought us up in this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They raised us up in this, and we would not be who we are if it wasn't for the lineage of where our grandmothers and our grandfathers and our aunts and uncles brought us through. Man, there was so many talented people around. And Brandon, that's how I met Brandon. We was kids, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And and I remember you too, Carlos. We was kids. We
Yeah.
were trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
didn't know, but the God in us knew to put us around that staple. It ain't a lot of us left that were able to experience the lineage of, you know, our great grandparents and our
Right.
grandparents to instill in us while we still have the relationships that we have today. So um that man, that whole Righteous Riders, and shout out to all of them, man. Blue Chip and
Mhm.
Specialists and Logic and Knowledge, you know what I mean? And all of them, man, they still doing things in the music industry. And that was a big part of my life, man. And it gave me a lot of my stage presence.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
hip hop cats, they got that, where they do this moving thing. So,
Right.
I was one of them cats where I attached that to praise and worship. And so when people see me, it's like, man, you move like a dude that's hip hop. And I was like, man, it's just where my, and even my energy, everybody be like, man, he moved like, and the first mega church that I worked at, I wore jerseys for praise and worship. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That they had to really kind of tailor me into putting on a suit, because I was like, man, but it brought a whole nother regime of young adults and young people into the church. It was like, man, who's this young cat on stage? 24,
Yeah.
23, 24 lead worship in Jersey with some braids, man. That's not normal. You know, you don't
Exactly.
see that on a regular basis. So that was the start of my journey, man. And then when Righteous Rider split up, um, it kind of devastated me because I thought, well, dang, okay, well, maybe that was it. Maybe that was my run. So I got all my brothers and sisters together and some of my friends and now my wife and her sisters. And I was like, man, I'm gonna start a group. You know what I mean? And from my mom's youth choir, MGMC, and my grandmother, as everybody got older, I took some of the key people out and I started a group called The Ensemble. And then they kind
Yeah.
of folded out, and then I started pulling other people in from different places that I met. And man, I was like, man, I'm gonna write a whole bunch of songs and I'm gonna do a concert and we'll see if people show up. And man, we did this concert back in 2005, 2004. It's called We Are Who We Are. And man, we recorded a DVD. It was really mom and pop. And man, that DVD went all over the country without even me knowing it. It was passing from hand to hand. I didn't even realize that some of my songs that I had written, TD Jakes was youth choir was singing them back in the early 2000s.
Oh wow.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And a girlfriend of my family and sisters that went on to do the sing off. That's how they ended up meeting because one of the girls from um, Jake's church was like, "Yo, y'all the girls from Jason's group," and it was just like, wow, all of these things. So it was so much talent in my city. I just always told myself, man, I'm gonna put out records, man. So man, it's been a lot of out of pocket sewing for years and years and years of I'm actually the record I just finished is my fifth record. So I have four records out, and independent, and it's been crazy being independent, the success that I've had as an independent artist, but my writing has helped me, man. So that's just a little overview of what God has done in my life, man, and it's been amazing, man. I tell somebody my 20s was like not the normal 20s. I'm 38 now, but my 20s was like, man, I thought when I turned 30, I was like, man, my life is over, man, because I got to travel the world in my 20s, man. I mean, with Ron
Yeah.
Canoli traveling overseas and doing all of this, Ireland and Amsterdam and London and Africa. And I mean, I'm like, and not paying to go. It just shows you when God's hand is on your life and you just focus on that, um, and focus on just letting Him move you where He wants to move you and place you where He wants to place you. He'll do things in His time.
I remember my very first memory of you. We were, gosh, man, probably first, second grade, maybe even kindergarten. But my mom and daddy still have the video of your grandmama, Wilma Clayborn, making you sing, Lord, I'm available to you.
Bro, you
And
have to give me that. I don't care if I will pay you and to get it transferred to a DVD or something.
yeah,
Because that stuff like that, that's just memory,
yeah.
and I want to show my son. My son's 6, my
We
daughter's 16. I want to show them this stuff, you know what I
we
mean?
have them on
Yo,
VHS, and sometimes I watch them. But I brought that up because I could remember you. That's the only time I remember you being a little shy. For some reason,
hmm
that one particular time you were shy, and your grandmother, she was like, pushing you on the scene. But after that, let me tell you, this guy was never shy again. And it was so funny because he would always work with the youth choir, or what we call them then. I think it was the teenage group or something like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But he would come and work with us. It was him, April Fitzpatrick, Sherman Williams,
Shout out to Sherman.
Brandon
Sherman,
Alexander.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
shout out to Brandon, my cuz, man. Yeah.
yeah. And but
Shout out to all of them. April is like another mom. I've been knowing Gavin since I was born. Shout out to
yeah,
Gavin. Shout out to Sherman. I still
yeah.
talk to him through Facebook. Man, shout out to all of them, man. They was very, very pivotal in all of our lives, man.
But see, everybody knows Jason as a singer-songwriter now. But I know Jason as a drummer.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, see?
Do you
Yes,
remember
sir.
that?
Yes,
Listen,
sir.
I tell people all the time, It was like, man, what you want to do? I actually wanted to play drums. I didn't want to sing. I wanted to play drums. And it's funny now because my son is 6 and he's a beast already. Like one day I was like, man, he done left his YouTube on, and I bought him a little electric drum set. And I was like, man, he done left his YouTube on. And I opened the door and it was him. And I was like, oh my God. And in my brain, it just took me back to when I was little. I was like, okay, so since I didn't get an opportunity to do it, God, you funny. You going yeah, shh, be quiet, boy. You going you gonna put it on my son. Okay, okay, that's cool.
Right,
But
right.
I mean everything, man. And then other drummers that have seen him and heard him, man. It's just funny that you say that because I really did. I didn't want to sing. I wanted to be a drummer first.
Okay,
That's crazy.
let's talk about this, Jason.
Okay.
What is your first memory of music? Can you take us to that place?
Mm.
Your very first experience, that whatever jumped up inside of you and said, man, this is what I need to do the rest of my life.
I think it would have close the door. It would have to be it would have to be those conventions, and it would have to be those conventions and singing in front of those mass bodies of people and seeing that, oh, wait a minute, there's something inside me that they love, you know what I mean? And there's a sound and an anointing on the inside of me that God has given me. And then another thing is I saw that the girls like this. So I was like, man, I think I'm gonna put these sticks down and go on and use this voice,
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I never forget that, man. Standing on the stage and singing, and then an older lady walking up to you crying and saying, "Man, you bless me today. You bless my spirit, and your voice bless my spirit." And that is what stuck with me even up till this day. I always try to make sure that I stay in a posture of where I never focus on, the gift, but the anointing and the presence of God on the gift, because without the anointing, it's just brass and tingle and cymbal, like the word says. It's the anointing that destroys the yoke. So I've always tried to stay in a humble posture to where I can allow the Lord to, use me in whatever mode or wherever He's taking me. People be like, man, I can still call you and talk to you. I mean, why not? Jesus was like that.
Right.
I mean, I think people put this ethereal big, you know, platform, you know, totem pole of how, man, Jesus was, he hung with the hood cats. You know what I mean? He was reachable. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
And so I think that that's the most important part of what, from my memory of, when I would leave a stage and people would be blessed and people were crying and worshiping and blessing God. I think that is the biggest thing for me. It still to this day amazes me when, somebody comes and says, man, you blessed me today. And I'm like, for real?
Mm.
It still doesn't register in my brain because I've always prayed and asked the Lord to not let that stage and let, that overtake me. You
Right.
know what I mean? So, and then others that I've worked with and young people that I've been around, I've tried to instill that in them where, hey, listen, don't focus on the stage, focus on the relationship.
Right. We talked about you playing the drums a little bit. Do you still play?
I mean, I can hold down the service if I got
You
to.
can.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's funny because sometimes one of our drummers from one of our services, he would leave, and because he played keys too, and go to another church, and I would have to get on drums. And every time I would get on drums, everybody would be looking at me like, "What is he doing?" And then when they would hear me play, they'd be like, "What?" They're
Yeah.
like, "Man, you can do it all." And I'm like, "Man, y'all got to realize I've been playing." I mean,
Yeah.
I developed that pocket, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
a long time ago. So yeah, I still dabble from time to time. Yeah.
What was your first song that was noticed nationally?
Um, I would have to say I Worship You. Vashawn Mitchell recorded I Worship You. It was actually two because a friend of ours, a family friend, Nisi Robinson, who's in Chicago, was taking my songs back to Chicago and singing them at concerts everywhere. And Bashan was in Chicago at the time. I was like, man, where did them songs come from? So the first song that got a national placement, I was actually on tour in London with Ron Canola and one of my boys, Titus Robinson, who
Yeah.
plays Niecy's brother, who plays organ and keys and produces and all that good stuff. He was like, man, Vashawn wants to record your songs. He's trying to get in touch with you. And I'm like, well, I'm in London. And that was the first time I had to go to the front desk and make an international call to get on the phone with Vashawn and the label. And I didn't know the business then. So I was just excited. So I
Right.
worship you. You're all ways there when no one else cares. And I can depend on you. I worship you for the rest of my life. I will. That was the first song that I got placed nationally. And so when he dropped that album, the Promises album, he was actually signed to Ty Scott at the time. And
Yeah.
when he dropped that album, my songs were like popular on that record. He didn't never make them singles, but they were popular songs. And I never forget one morning I was clicking through MTV where they did the My Life series, and they were
Mm-hmm.
talking about this girl in Chicago, and she walked into a church and they were singing that song, and I was like, "Oh my God, they singing my song on MTV." I was like, this is
Wow.
crazy. So that's kind of how I knew. I was like, man, God is giving me something incredible with my pen. So I took it over from my mom, and my mom's pen is amazing too. So,
Oh
I
yeah.
just, what I mean, I'd always told myself that, man, I want to cultivate that gift and not just sit on it, because I've seen a lot of talent just sat on, and then, they end up getting into the late 50s, 60s and never put records out and stuff. So
Mhm.
I Worship You over and over featuring Kim Burrell on that album too.
Yeah. Okay. So let's
Yeah.
let's talk about your writing process a little bit, man. How do you go about that? Like, what's
You know what's funny? I don't really have a process,
okay?
because all of the songs that God has given me has been through life experience, or whatever I feel in that moment. Like I Worship You was like a rock worship song, and no artist was really doing rock worship songs, blending the CCM vibe with worship songs. When Bashan did that, he softened the song up a little bit, but the original version, it was like da da da, yo oh da da da, ways that da da da. It had like a rock vibe to it. So I just, in those moments, I was like, oh, cool, let's add a rock vibe with this, and then let me see how it works. I never was like, it never was planned. That's why a lot of times when artists ask me for songs, they're like, man, write me another You're All I Need, by Bishop Hezekiah Walker. And I'm like, well, that was a season in my life.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't really want to emulate that, but I'll write you something that kind of has that vibe. But I mean, I'm gonna write you exactly how God gives it to me, and that's one thing that I try to stay true to, is the sound that God gives me, and not filter off and trying to be like, like everybody's trying to do this CCM vibe right now to their music, and emulate them. And it's nothing against it. I love a lot of the songs it's out, but gospel has a specific sound,
Yeah.
and we can't stray away from the pain and the struggle and the things that we have to go through and had to go through as Black people. That's what birthed that gospel sound. The Walter
Right.
Hawkins and the Andre Crouches and all of them, man. It was a different, it was what they were going through in those moments. Richard Smallwood, all of them, it was the moments in their life that, kind of cultivated those songs.
Right. So who are your favorite writers? Who influences
Ooh,
you, and not just who influences you, but who are your favorite? Like, let's okay, let's be more specific. Let's take
okay.
it from old school to new school. Like, what's cats that's doing it now versus cats like you mentioned. The Ron Canolis who we all grew up with,
Yeah.
the Walter Hawkins and them. So let's do old school and new school
Okay.
to make
Old
it kind of
school.
easy.
Writers. I'd have to say, because John P. Key is a writer.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
He's not just a singer. Of course, he's my vocal mentor, but writer. He was a writer. Donald Lawrence, of course.
yeah.
James Hall. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think. Richard Smallwood, of course. Writers. Now, um, oh, of course, Kirk Franklin. I can't forget. I'm an
Yeah,
early Kirk. I'm an early Kirk fan.
me too.
Let me make
I mean, I
sure that
love
that's.
everything he
I
does,
love
but that
everything
Turk
he's
is
done, but I'm an early Kirk. I think the last album that really got me with Kirk was maybe that Fight of My Life album. That's when I really kind of after that album. I mean, I still listen to everything he put out, but as far as the writing and the authenticity of the sound, I would have to say the early Kirk is me. But writing of definitely Kirk Franklin, definitely.
mm,
And then I come to find out later, Myron Butler was the pen behind a
yeah.
lot of that stuff too.
I think he's very
So
underrated.
yeah, now, hmm, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of dope cats out right now. Jabari Johnson, Chandler Moore, but my era, is like, oh, another writers now. Let me go back. Anthony Brown, he's a beast writer. He's a brother of mine. Jonathan Nelson, who I think is super underrated. And
Yeah,
I think people forgot how dope he was. There was albums that Jonathan Nelson put out a couple albums ago that should have been nominated for every award.
man, listen.
That I mean that he had a black and white leather jacket on the front of that album. That album had hits from top to bottom. I
Man,
think
that's
I
like my
think
favorite album of his. So
listen,
I'm
I
right there
think the
with
world slept on that record. So Jonathan Nelson, an incredible writer, and these are all friends of mine. Vashawn, of course, Vashawn. Let me tell you what, people like the Vashawn Mitchell now, but if you go back to them Bishop Larry Trotter records, Vashawn's pen was ignorant.
you. Uh-oh.
I mean, he had a lot of
Hmm.
smashes on them records. So, but this new age, I'm still trying to find who is dope as far as a writer is concerned. I know Chandler Moore's a beast. He writes, um, but I don't really have a lot of. I still listen to old stuff. I still listen to God's Property. I still listen to Natalie Wilson and SOP. You know what I mean? I just think our sound has gotten watered down, and everybody's trying to go mainstream instead of staying true to the gospel sound. To me,
Talk about that a little bit more, man. Go on a little bit more in depth about what you mean by watered down and losing our sound. Because
I
I'm finding that a lot of people are saying the same thing. So,
yeah, I think if you look and let me start with this, and people are gonna go probably gonna go crazy, but I'm a studier of our industry. So before I got signed, I've always studied and listened and tried to learn everything so that I could be knowledgeable. When you go back to the Thomas Dorsey's and the journey when he wrote Precious Lord, and his wife died, his kid, one of his kids died. I mean, it's a lot of pain and struggle in our music. What the Clark sisters had to go through, what um, Albertina Walker and the Caravans and Shirley Caesar. I mean, and all of them had to go through in the early days to get to where they are now.
right.
Um, I think it's easy for you know our other counterparts in you know the CCM market to talk about deers and water brooks and forests full of trees, and steaks and eating the good of the land because they grew up in that. What I mean? As far as black people are concerned, we had to go through it. They don't understand. They never knew what chitlins was and hog mogs and
Right.
pig feet and you know growing their food in the garden and going out and picking the food and you know storing it up. They never really had to. A lot of them never really had to go through that. It was a struggle and a pain through it. So what I say when I say that is, I think social media and when you get a little bit more clout and networks are coming at you and different things and nothing against the business aspect of it, but I think staying true to the gospel sound. When I got signed, Donald Lawrence said, please don't lose our sound, Jason. And I took heed to that because I'm like, okay, so there's a sound that God has given us, in gospel music, and people love it. When I started writing with CCM writers, they wanted what was in me and
Right.
what God placed in me. They wasn't concerned about me trying to write like them. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So we just can't stray away from our sound and water down our sound and try to be like them. We've always had worship music, but it was our vibe. It was black gospel vibe. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't us trying to be them to me. You know what I mean? And I don't care what nobody says. That's what we do because we wasn't thinking about the screens in our churches and the smoke and the lights and all of that. We was just coming to church to have church.
Right.
You know what I mean? And praise our way through our problems, our issues, and our struggles. You know what I'm
So
saying?
let me ask you this: what do you think contributed to us losing or starting to lose our sound, and where it's being watered down? What do you think contributed to that?
I think looking at other churches and other things and wanting what they have. You know what I mean? And even though you want, it's good to learn from people. I'm not saying that because I mean my church, we ended up getting screens and stuff too. Do we utilize them like we should? No, because my
Mhm.
my pastor, he's a little bit more old school, but the look of it looks good. And I think we got to the fact of what it looks like
Okay.
and not the presence behind it. And and we've started trying to emulate what that sounds like instead of staying true to the sound that God has given us. You know what I mean?
Hmm. So how do you think we should rectify it, or like what's the beginning steps? Like how do you think we can do that?
I don't, because we're not. I mean, we've already created a movement of our own. I mean, with All Nations and other worship, cats that are building, Maverick Worship, and there's a dope worship team called Cross Worship out of Cincinnati. My boy Troy Cole birthed that. So I don't think we're gonna get away from that vibe and that worship. I'm not saying getting away from what we're doing. I'm just saying keeping our vibe on it. You know what I mean? And making sure that it has our vibe. I'm not saying, and I'm not downing nothing that's going on. Let me just make that clear. I'm just saying I feel like that we got to make sure that we continue to stay authentic to this
Hmm.
and our vibe of not forgetting. And the world will more overly appreciate it if we stay true to who we are.
Facts.
Now to the question I've been dying to ask you. I probably should have asked you this years ago, but what is it like working beside Bishop Hezekiah Walker?
Genius, um, a real man of God. Um, and this is me talking behind the scenes. I can say this because I've been on the road with him for the last almost 10 years. Um, he took me fresh out, and was like, "Man, you got a gift. I'm gonna bring you on the road. I'm gonna teach." And every time I'm around him, God always made moments for me to be around him when he was handling business or working. And he's a very smart businessman. He really loves people. Um, he's genuine. I've seen him stop and talk to, and take pictures with everybody. Um, he's a great man of God, man. And he knows a good Sunday morning song. He knows. I never forget when I sent him "You're All I Need." It took me 4 or 5 times to get it to him, and the drummer Jeff Leslie actually was sat him down and was like, "You need to listen to your Godson song. It's a smash." And the week of the recording, the band learned the music. They didn't. The night of the recording, they just played the music. Nobody had heard the song yet.
Oh, wow.
And so Donald Lawrence singers and some of his singers went in the studio, cut it, and nobody had heard the song until the record came out. So
Wow.
the Sold Out album came out, and Sold Out was on the radio, but for some reason, "You're All I Need" was being played on the radio just as much as Sold Out. Then they dropped "God Favored Me."
Yeah,
You know what I
Mm.
mean? But I was still getting checks. Like
yeah.
my publishing checks was bananas, and I was like, how am I getting? I just got it's track 9 on the album. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
people, I mean, around the world are still singing the
They
song.
played the
Hey,
heck out of that song. I got tired of playing it. I ain't gonna lie to you.
You know what I'm saying?
we,
It's
we,
a staple for the last 10 years, and that's what I'm
yeah,
saying. That's a worship tune. You know what I
right.
mean? A praise tune, you know, and I tried to make sure that I kept true to the sound of who we are and who we are as black folks. You know, the O's and the vibe of the song, you know. And really the beginning, actually, I could play y'all the original version
Yeah, let's
when
do
I
that.
first did You're All I Need. When I first ever sang it out, it really had a rock vibe to it. So
Yeah,
let me
go
pull it
ahead.
let me pull it up.
While you doing that, I got a homeboy, Xavier Neal. Shout out to you. Carl Smith Dawson. Shout out to you. Xavier said, "Man, we play You're All I Need every other Sunday. He ain't never lied." Xavier Neal, he's from the Church of God too. His
Oh,
uncle is
okay.
a pastor. Yeah, we did, man.
Man, we played the heck out of that song.
Yeah.
And just man, it just keep going. I'm like,
Let him play the music. You don't do the singing.
man, I was just saying.
I be trying to tell Carlos, don't you do
Man,
the singing.
shut up, man.
You just do the talking and
Man,
let the
hush.
artist do the singing.
I'm just saying, like it was ingrained. Like we just
Yeah,
knew
man.
that's what the songs that we was gonna do. Period. It was no
Man.
getting around
So,
it.
and you know what? You know what's crazy?
But
Like,
that's how you know you got a great song, man. When people don't want to put it down.
yeah, bro. Like, and it was bananas because I was trying to figure out. I was like, man, why is everybody, I mean, the songs they keep singing the song. So this is the first time we did it. Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. We still in worship. Come on, say, let your rivers flow through me. Come on, say, oh, every breath you breathe through me. So it had like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it had a solid rock vibe to it, and so he made it choir, kind of more choir vibe.
Right.
Yeah.
If you just tuning in, this is Jason Clayborn, singer, songwriter,
Ranger.
arranger,
With music.
old buddy, old pal, old friend. He is playing for us the very first recording of You're All I Need. He wrote You're All I Need as recorded by Hezekiah Walker.
Ooh, I like that thing right there.
So yeah, it had a rock vibe to it. You know what I mean? A lot of the songs that I've given the artists, they've kind of watered them down a little bit and made them, but I mean, everybody, and that's me as a writer. I just have always told myself that I would never not say, no, you can't change my song. No, I
Yeah.
wanted everybody to make sure that it fits their ministry. And even if they had to change a line in it to fit where they are in their life to make it fit them, I was cool with it.
Hey man, so would you be opposed to do an album of your stuff that you've given everybody else the original way it was meant to do? Because I think that would be pretty dope.
You know
If
what?
they could hear the
Somebody has
original.
already said that. Somebody's already said that. Like they was like, man, you should do the original better. You should do the original. I survived it,
Yeah.
and do them. I was like, well, that would be something cool. I'm really actually on my next album. I'm going to do probably about 3 or 4 of the original versions.
All right, bet because that
Yeah,
would be dope.
There was
yeah.
this really churchy song that you did, and I cannot find it. I don't know which group you were with, or it was real churchy. I think you
You
might have recorded.
you talking about sufferings for the
Yes,
suffering?
yes.
So let me tell you what, that's actually on an album, and the artist is independent, but that album is cold. It's called his name is James Andrews and New Seasons from Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. Yeah.
Okay.
He recorded that song. He recorded two of my songs. He recorded God Will and recorded something. Let me see. I'm gonna play it. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, play it. That song is hitting, man. It's
Let
a
me see.
real churchy song,
Man,
Hold on.
Those are my people. I know them all, man.
Yo, let me tell you something. See, people don't.
You do not know that song, Carlos. Carlos just.
I bet you if you played it, I probably would.
Sing it. You want to sing? Sing the song.
No,
you don't know that song.
I'm saying you got to give me a refresher. That sounds real familiar.
That's it.
See, people don't know that churchy side of me, Doc. That's still in there.
But you see, I called it out.
Uh-huh.
See, I didn't know that was you. Okay.
Yeah.
You just brought this back in my remembrance. I forgot about this joint.
See, I told you.
Man, we was way ahead of our time, man, with just our sound and our vibe. But man, like when I wrote that, I was like, man, I want to put that Nabisco. I was like, man, let's do something with that. And I told my brother, I said, bro, let's do something crazy with that sound. And I just have always had that mind where I was like, and I'm a cartoon head, so like music wordology. If you go back, I can tell you, if you pick songs off there, I can tell you what cartoon, what movie I was watching at the time, because I took vibes from cartoons, movies, and TV shows to do that album.
I remember talking about the conventions. Man, it was so crazy because the Church of God it's not Kojic, but it's a holiness.
Mm-hmm.
They don't call themselves Pentecost. They call themselves sanctified. But it was interesting because, let me just say it like this. The Church of God was very strict. Very strict. My pastor was Bishop John W. Batts.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very strict. I mean, to the point where women couldn't wear pants in the church. You know the whole spiel, no earrings and stuff like that. They doing all that now. But they didn't believe in women preachers at the time. But I can remember Jason would come in. I would love going to the conventions because I knew that when Jason came to them darn conventions, we ain't gonna be traditional. He taught us a song, Sacrifice of Praise.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't just that he taught us to sing it, he had us moving. And I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. You know, we didn't know, and then I was living in Knoxville, Tennessee. We didn't know all these moves he was teaching us. Bishop Batts almost blew like a gasket, man. Jason didn't cry, and it was so funny because his grandmama, Wilma Clayborn, is like our Maddie Mouse Clark.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
That's true. That's true. That's true. You're saying
was
right.
The Church of God, Maddie Mouse Clark. I'm serious. And I know it's about you, but this brings back so many memories of how, let me tell you something. I used to come to the conventions. I would sing, play the drums, but I didn't play in the convention. And I would always try to sneak on the organ like during offering time because we had Roy Cavett, Brian Lane, and all the big wigs. They were the hitters of our day. Yeah. And they would get off and go drink water or whatever, and I would sneak on the organ. His grandma would kick me off the organ. And I never forget, I played what's that song? Keith Pringle. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm
Can't Stop Praising His Name. I played that, and for offering, she didn't kick me off. She got on the microphone and said, "I've been kicking this guy off the organ for all these years, and now look at him. He's finally playing in the convention." I ended up playing in the June convention. You know, anytime
we came up from that area where they would kick you off.
Yeah,
man, lost
because it wasn't just about the playing.
Exactly.
Right.
It was about it wasn't just about the playing. It was about it was about the relationship.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, you know, that's what made us say, okay, no, this is serious. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? This is serious. Like, um, I got to really focus on developing my relationship with God.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It,
man.
it was amazing because they made us great musicians. Like I can truly say that after I crossed that threshold of honing in on my craft, no one ever kicked me off the instrument again. I made sure of it, you know.
Yeah.
And
It all takes one time, a few.
and
You know what I'm saying?
embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
Man,
Yeah.
I used to go home and I love his grandmama. I mean, we're friends on Facebook. I've talked to her, since I've left the church guy. No, disrespect to her. I'm just saying, like, that is the type of upbringing that musicians need.
Yeah.
If the
Yeah.
drummer was too slow, you get booted.
Yep.
You know?
You can't keep up on the time. Shout music.
Yeah,
Get off.
yeah,
I've
get
been.
off.
I was booted off. I mean, what I mean. It's the upbringing, man, that these kids are missing. You know what I mean? And I just think everything is so fast paced. We didn't have that. We didn't have the YouTubes and the
Right.
Facebooks, and we
No.
didn't have all that. We had church
Right.
and home.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah,
I
man.
got to play. We had something called HYPU, Holiness Young People Union. And that's where we would it's kind of like a youth group for the church guy, and they would let us play there, but when you came to a convention you had to be on a certain level of playing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I bring that up because I'm pretty sure that Jason can attest to this. If it wasn't for the church of God, there probably not won't be a Jason Clayborn.
That's true. And that's why I never forget. That is so true. Even the church that I'm at now, St. Stephen Baptist Church, which was down the street, they were
Yeah.
growing at the time. You know what I mean? And I was right up the street from the church that I've been at now as one of the worship directors and choir directors for 16 years. I was right down the street getting cultivated and sharpened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not realizing that, I would be one of the top guys at the church that's over
Yeah.
10,000 members later on down the line. And Church of God Sanctified is I mean, I can't walk in that church without tearing up because I
Right.
start thinking about all of the times that, the buses would come down and everybody would be in the basement eating and outside
Yeah.
talking. We would be
Yeah.
running around and going to, the other churches, and everybody would be just have that fellowship moment, and being able to talk to each other and sharpen each other, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Let me
true.
ask you this, Jason. Say a young boy or a young girl wants to grow up and be a songwriter. What would you tell them?
Ooh. Um, First of all, stay authentic to the sound that God gives you. Make sure that your songs have substance and they talk about something where you can be able to bless other people. Like, I should be able to talk my lyrics to you all, and y'all be like, "Dang, man, that's crazy. You said that."
Right.
Make sure the lyrical content is solid, and that it speaks to people. If it don't speak to you first, it ain't gonna speak to nobody else. So make sure that it has substance, that you have, song structure. It doesn't always have to be. We broke the mold, from verse, chorus, verse.
Right.
Like the hymns, it was verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse,
Mhm.
chorus. Verse, chorus, bridge, vamp. Sometimes you got a bridge, sometimes you go straight to the vamp, and then you got two vamps. You got a first vamp, and then a second vamp, which drives the song on out. It's very important that you just have a solid structure. And then now with technology, just stay up on your technology and make sure you know that you looking at people and finding people that you can sharpen, and that you can sharpen with other people. Is like, I'm cool thing about me that people don't know is I engineer my sessions when I do writing. So,
Mhm.
I run Pro Tools. I cut the click track on sometimes without a keyboard player, and cut the vocals, and then send the songs out. You know what I mean? So make sure that you have a lot of that you're able to be a weapon in different areas. So and then learn as much as you can. Everything's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Everything's in the books. Learn, man, learn the business and learn what the publishing and the writer splits are and what that looks like, so that as you're writing these songs and they get in place, your gift, like the word says, your gift will make room for you, that you can get a check.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what I mean?
right.
I'm just being 100, that you
Yeah.
can make this a business for you. I never forget, man. I was writing, and you're all I need. I was just me and my wife, boyfriend and girlfriend. When I got married, I was still writing, and she was like, "Man, when are we gonna see some money from this?" And I never forget, Better took off, and I was like, "Oh boy!" And so I never forget March 2017. On a Friday, I wake up, direct deposit hits. I was checking my account, and I looked at my account, and I was like, "Oh, hold up." I had to
I hear
I
you.
said, wait a minute. And I looked at my thing and I was like, nah, somebody done messed up, man. I'm not touching this money. You know what I mean? But it was from my publishing company, and the amount was like, oh boy. And so I
Yeah.
woke my wife and was like, look. She was
Yeah.
like, keep writing.
So tell our audience, Jason, um, it's possible to be a writer and never ever, I guess, have your picture taken or be seen and still be a millionaire. Is that
That's true.
possible?
That's truth. Truth. Hands down. It's a little bit different now with streaming and all of that. For gospel writers, but those that write, R&B and you know country or whatever, man, there's so many millionaires that are writers and you don't even know them. You walk right past them and wouldn't even know who they are.
Right.
I
Right.
met some of them and been in their houses. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. When I went to Nashville and rode to this one lady's house, I was like, what do you do? She's like, I just write. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And that changed my perspective of making sure that, I you know, cross pollinate as much of our sound as possible. And so, I mean, I got songs that I had a Better almost made it on a Hershey commercial.
Really?
Oh wow.
Yeah, there's a Hershey commercial that's out right now where a lady is sitting by the door and her daughter's on the other side of the door. And she slides a piece of Hershey chocolate under the door and says, you know what, eventually it's going to get better. And they had pitched it, and it
Really?
almost made it. And so
Oh man.
I got songs that I've shot to Greenleaf, I
Hmm.
got songs that are being shot to movies and different things right now as we speak. So, just build your catalog. That's another thing for writers. Build your catalog up.
Okay.
That's
I
what's
mean,
up.
I could take another 2, 3 hours and play y'all songs that I got just sitting demoed of stuff that ain't
Yeah.
nobody ever heard, or the whole nine. But just build your catalog up. But yeah, you can. You can. If you really hone in on your craft and connect with the right people, money
Right.
there ain't
You,
no
you know,
there
I,
ain't no
I
limit.
said it because everybody wants to be in the spotlight, when it comes to the whole creative thing. Um, but I try to tell people all the time, I thank God for you and that He is giving you your platform, and you're gonna go even much higher. But what you're doing is not for everybody, and
But people got to realize, for years I was
yeah,
behind the scenes.
yes, yeah,
I'm for the last 10 years I've been the guy behind the scenes walking the red carpets.
right,
And then all my artist friends who I saw that were trying to get in, who are now top artists, were looking at me like, every time I walk these red carpets, Jason is right here. That's because
right,
God never forgot that, you know, He never forgot me. It was just like, I'm showing you your journey is totally different from anybody else's. You got to walk your way through. I remember Anthony Brown when he was you know, following up behind Marette Brown Clark.
yeah,
And people don't know, a lot of them songs on the Marette Brown Clark albums, Anthony Brown wrote. You are the
mm,
sovereign God, bigger than all
yeah,
my. That's Anthony, man. Anthony's pen is ridiculous. But Anthony's journey is different. Anthony's classically trained, and all the singers that was connected to him and still connected to him, they're classically
that,
trained. So
Titus is on here. He said, "Man, you
I'm
wasn't
not.
behind no
I'm
singing."
listen. I'm not talking to him. Don't y'all focus. Don't y'all talk to him. He's crazy. I love Titus, man. Shout out to my
Yeah,
brother who challenges even me till this day. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Challenge me even till this day, man. I love that brother. And he's one of them. He's one of them that, man, if you look up the credits of a lot of these songs that are on the record and see who's on organ or who's produced, my brother, man. Shout out to him
yeah.
big time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Um, what's next?
Um, so it's Ty Scott really kind of made me go back to my roots. Um, Choir music is what I grew up on and what we grew up on. So I I just finished the choir album, whole album, man. I mean, and it's got
Really?
some, yeah, a whole choir album. So my choir right now is called the Atmosphere Changers. It is a group of young people that came out of my youth choir from church after it had gotten real big and then dwindled down, and they still wanted
Right.
to sing. So every time they would sing, man, they would change the atmosphere of the room. So um,
Okay. I
uh,
got you.
I that's what I named them, the Atmosphere Changers. So it's about 20, 25 of them that are just amazing, talented young adults. And we finished the choir album in January. It's at the label now, so we're just waiting on them to drop it. It's going to be self-titled Jason Clayborn and the Atmosphere Changers, because we couldn't pick a song because there's so many crazy dope songs on the record. And I didn't go and find a whole bunch of lead singers and friends of mine.
Mhm.
Only got one major feature, which is Pastor Michael Lampkin.
Yeah.
Um, and but everybody else on the record is like my sisters, and my mom sings a song on the record. I got a friend of mine who's a beast out of Cincinnati, Chantel Hankerson. Some people from here, Daria Raymore, my baby sister, well, my oldest baby sister, and Jarrell, my boy Brian Bosley, who is another writer that moved from Virginia to here, West Virginia, to here. And he's amazing. He's amazing. He's amazing writer. And so that's another thing I'm working on is us collabing in the gospel industry more,
Yeah.
collabing as writers and all of that. As CCM, that's why they all got. That's why they all rich, because they not scared to collab. Um,
Right.
so all of them collabing, man, and I want to do the same thing. So on this choir album, I wrote about maybe 4 or 5 of the tunes, and then the other, yeah, about 4 tunes, and then the other 6, me and my boy Brian wrote together. You know what I mean? We just kind of bounced it off each other, and then I remade one of my mom's songs from back 30 years ago, and that's the song that Pastor Michael Lampkin is singing on, called uh, "Walk with Me."
Yeah.
And this,
Uh-oh.
okay, I'm here.
You there?
I'm still here. Can y'all
Okay,
hear
yeah,
me?
you there.
Can
Yeah,
y'all
you
hear me?
good.
I can't hear
Yeah.
myself. Um, so this album is just I want to bring back that 90s feel, that
Yeah.
that uh, God's Property, Natalie Wilson, you
Yeah.
know, that young adult feel that I feel like is missing in the industry right now.
And that's
I
what's
can't
out
I
right
can't hear
now.
y'all. I can't hear y'all.
You can't hear
Let
us?
me click off and come back and see if that works.
Okay. All right. While he's getting his computer situated or phone, let's take some comments. We have someone on here. Let's see. Oh, Carl. She said, bring him to SJD.
Actually, that would be dope. That
You and dope. Lord, you
that would be
say
dope.
dope.
That would be dope. That would be.
It would be very nice.
Look at you being all. You'd be very, very
There
nice.
we
There you
go.
go.
There we
You
go.
back?
Okay, cool. Cool, cool.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, y'all can hear y'all now. Yeah. Somebody tried to
Okay.
call me and I had to click it off, and then once I clicked it off, I guess it tried to connect.
I got you.
Yeah,
This what I
but choir,
while you
man,
were
like
gone.
choir joints, you know what I mean? Bangers for everybody, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So one of my church members is commenting, talking about bring you and your choir to our church. I said I can arrange that.
Man, let's make it happen. I'd
Yeah,
love
let's
to.
make it happen.
And I want to give a shout out to my producer, Gabriel Hatcher, who is a monster on keys and a production beast. Shout out to Gabriel Hatcher, the second. and he's produced. Man, he's one of them behind the scenes cats where a lot of songs and new artists and independent artists that you hear, he's been killing it production wise. But that's my right hand guy, man. Him and Brian is my squad who I've been building this new choir vibe with.
Gotcha. So what's your latest project? Let's talk about that.
Okay, the one that I have out right now, so right now on the radio, Praise Belongs to You, Jason Clayborn, The Atmosphere Changes on radio. We just hit top 30 this week on the gospel airplay charts. So praise belongs to you. I give you glory, I give you honor, all of my praise belongs to you. That's what's on the radio right now. And there's a music video to it on YouTube. And then we just dropped this past Friday another song off the record called Creator. And it's just a neck banger. It puts that bop back into you. Remember when finally Karen Donna Lawrence album and Bomb and Gilead came on, and you looked in the crowd and everybody was like, everybody had that bop. We want to bring that bop back to your neck on this whole album. You know, we got, and then I just put, we put everybody that has been influential into our lives. You know, the Donna Lawrences, the Hezes, the John Keys, the Ricky Dillers, the James Halls, the Richard Smallwoods, the Andre Crouches, the Walter Hawkins. This album has a sprinkle of all of them on it. Of course, with our vibe.
Good.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what you're getting on this. But so praise belongs to you, Creator. You can get all of them on all the sites right now.
When's the album releasing, Jason?
Man, I don't, now, with somebody telling you what to do, I'm trying to get comfortable with that because y'all would have already had the record if it was up to me.
I got you.
But the label has a marketing plan and how they want to market, so I got to go with what they want to do. So later this year, though, most definitely.
Good.
Later this year, probably August, September. You're gonna get the whole record, and I cannot wait. We remade. Y'all remember "Bless That Wonderful Name"?
Yeah.
Man, we got a remake on this record of that song that will blow. Man, hold on. I'm gonna give y'all an exclusive.
We get the exclusive.
I'm about to give you an exclusive. Let me see if I can find it on my let's see. I'm telling you, bro, we're not playing.
We're not playing.
We not.
Our time is almost spent.
Okay,
but
cool.
We got to talk about one last thing.
Okay.
Bishop Walker's your goddaddy.
Yeah.
And I know John P. kill your uncle. But they battling this Sunday on Instagram.
Listen, this is so.
It's going to be Sunday, April the 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be on Instagram Live.
This is so classic. I mean, it was hard for me to pick because they have both been major influences in my life, and they have both helped me tremendously on
Yeah.
my artist business journey walk.
Yeah.
I love John P. Key. I love him dearly, and I know he has hits. But I'm gonna have to stick with my G pops on this one, man. Hey, man. I mean, I can name. Let me see if I can name 10 smashes, and that's not even including the songs that I've done for him. Christ did it all. Jesus is my help. 99 and a half won't do. Any way you bless me. Second chance. Come home.
Yeah.
I'll make it. Uh, um, uh, all right. Oh, that's I'll make it.
Yeah.
Power
I would go in
belongs to
Jesus.
God. I will go in Jesus' name. How much we can bear. I ain't even got enough
Won't he
fingers to
make you
keep
clean?
going. You can keep going. I'm talking about church Sunday morning bangers
Yes.
where people are still singing to this day. Now, I know John P. Key got hits. I know, and I love him. But I'm talking about early heads, Morehouse.
Yeah. I'll
Um,
fly away.
even the church records, Let Go, Let God.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's so many. I mean, people slept on them church choir albums, the LFT albums. Man,
Yeah.
he got, I mean, bangers, man. Teach Me How to Wait. I mean, there's so many. I mean, it's gonna be fun to watch them go back and forth.
I think it's gonna break the internet, kind of like the Babyface and
Yeah.
Yeah,
and Teddy Riley.
yeah. It's gonna
I think
have
it's gonna
to.
break it again.
It's gonna
Yeah.
have to. It's gonna have to. I know Kirk and them said they weren't gonna do it, but I don't know who could go. Only person I think could go up with Kirk Franklin would be Fred Hammond.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That would be the only one. Now choirs, I would have probably thought that Ricky and Hez would have went against each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
who else is gonna go against Ricky?
Right. Right.
You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
No, there's nobody.
Ricky, Ricky got hits.
Unless James Hall, because a lot of times
Yeah,
people, you know,
yeah. James Hall could do it. It could be Ricky and
we
James,
sleep
but
on James Hall. He has some
oh
bangers.
man, listen. James Hall, that's my big brother too, man. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Smashes. He's a staple name and hit maker for church too.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
But I
Most
mean,
definitely.
I'm gonna have to stick with my god pops, man. I'm sorry, I love my aunt all day, but I mean, they both got longevity and they're still relevant in the industry. But as far as Sunday morning hits,
Yeah. Yeah, because
no,
I'm thinking about just doing a whole Sunday of just his Bishop Walker stuff, just
you
like
gonna you gonna
go
need the
from
whole 6 months to do that if you're gonna
yeah,
do them
I
each
know.
Sunday. I mean, let's just
I
be
know.
honest. I mean, he has that. His catalog is that deep.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
it is.
saying?
You remember Roy Christman?
Yeah, what's up? I see him. What's up, fam? What's up? I still stay in contact with Roy. That's family, man. What's up,
Yeah,
bro?
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
listen,
Them
our time is up, but brother, thank you so
Yeah.
much
Appreciate it.
for
too easy,
coming on
man.
the show.
Too easy. Y'all family, man. I appreciate y'all, man.
Yes,
Anytime, man.
sir.
Hey, one more
Anytime.
thing. Check this out. We're about to do a big music show. It's going to be dedicated to all music. Where we're going to try to talk about the different aspects of gospel music in the industry, and
Yeah.
just chop it up with some major folk. Man, we would like to invite you on. We'll let you know in the near future when that's going to happen.
Easy. Easy, man. Easy,
Listen,
man.
man.
Everybody go buy and stream the music. I'm gonna just say that once
Hey,
again.
tell us where we can
Buy
get your
it.
stuff, man. Let us
You
know
can get me on
what to set it up.
iTunes, Jason Clayborn and the Atmosphere Changers. Nana and Mama, Wilma Clayborn, my grandmother and my mama is watching right now. I love y'all.
Yes.
Love y'all. What's up, man? We've been talking about y'all a lot, so y'all
And
gotta
we
go
didn't
back and
talk
watch it.
much about and the reason why I didn't bring your mama up, because we have to do a whole nother show on your mama
Oh,
and grandmama.
they need their
Like
own
seriously.
shows. Y'all, man,
Yeah.
crazy. But
Yeah.
you can get Jason Clayborn and the Atmosphere Changers. Praise belongs to you, and Creator on all the media sites. Go buy it. It's only $1.29 a piece. Everybody go grab it, stream it, and grab it. Also, um, buy everybody's singles, man. It's a lot of dope people that drop stuff, man. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, you can get our stuff right now. The videos to both of the songs are on YouTube. Go watch them, share them, and all of that, man. And thank y'all so much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. Well, you know how we do in the good old black church. We got to have the benediction. Go ahead and give it to us. What is it? What's the last words, brother?
May the Lord watch. No, just everybody that is working and trying to get into this industry, just stack your catalog. Understand that there's different levels of notoriety in the background. You don't always have to be on stage. Stage ain't for everybody. And enjoy where God has you. Focus on developing your relationship in this COVID season. I feel like God set us down and put everybody on the same level. Just get back to understanding that He's in control of all and He is the creator of everything. So focus and understand that God is in control of all of it. And I love everybody. Thank you for your support. Thank you, Church of God Sanctified. Thank you, all of my church family, St. Stephen's, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for support. And go get the music, go buy it and stream it. And I love y'all.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, that is it for the Brandon and Carlos show.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. That was Jason Clayborn, hit songwriter, Better. You're All I Need. I probably forgot about You're All I Need. He's wrote some music for Vassan Mitchell. The list goes on.
Yeah.
If you just tuned in and got the back end of this live, give us a few seconds. It'll be the recorded version will be on there very shortly. This is the Brandon and Carlos show. You can hear us everywhere. Even though we're doing this on Facebook, we got people listening from the Netherlands, from the UK. I mean, just it's ridiculous. God has really given us favor. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You know, we tell y'all this every week. Go and subscribe. Spotify. You know, I don't know what platform you have. Go and subscribe. We got some great up and coming shows that we're about to get started doing. I can't wait until this coronavirus thing is over so we can actually go on location.
Right.
You know, we'll go to Louisville, we'll go to New York or wherever and actually cover these shows and stuff live. It's interesting. When we started this show, this will be our anniversary. We've been in existence for a year. And when we started this, we started out talking about dating and relationship, and that was pretty cool. But our show has evolved. We couldn't help but talk about music because we're both musicians. I think we're going to stay right here for a while. You know, instead of talking about something so serious all the time, people dying, corona, Trump talking about drinking bleach, crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Stuff.
We want to make you laugh. We want you to be entertained. But most of all, we want you to think freely and for yourself. Mm-hmm. You have a story to tell. Just like we have a podcast, you can do the same thing too. Everybody has a story. Tell your story. We live in America. You have the right to tell your story. But until the next time, that's it for the Brandon and Carlos show.
And remember,
wash them hands. Oh, man, that was good.